This is the 64 custom hand-wired Deluxe reverb from Fender. In super broad general terms, this is the most recorded amp in history, and it has been one of my Grail amps for a long time. So I'm incredibly pumped to have this here. I've already put it on, I don't know, like 15 or 20 songs. The Fender Deluxe came out in 1948, and the Deluxe Reverb was released in 1963. And there's been a whole bunch of versions ever since then, but this one, this hand-wired reissue got released in 2017. And since the moment I saw the press release, I was like, I have to have one of these. You know, 6 years later, here we are. Now, even though I've played one of these before, and I've played vintage ones before, once I got it in here and really started putting it on record after record, it was brutally obvious to me why it's the most recorded amp in history. And it got me thinking, what's the most recorded guitar chain in history? Well, that would be a Fender Stratocaster into a Fender Deluxe. This video was supposed to be about one thing, and it has completely flipped and turned into something completely different. The Fender Stratocaster was designed in 1952 and went into production in 1954 and has been in non-stop production ever since. Now, there's a guitar player here in town by the name of Tyler Bryant. I've been a fan of Tyler's for a long time now. He's always played a pink Stratocaster, and I admire him as a guitar player so much. And I've never had the chance to meet him. Tyler just got his very own signature custom shop Stratocaster. And the plan for this video was to just have him over, show off his Strat, play through this a little bit, we're gonna just talk about it. But he told me so many cool stories, and the story behind his journey and behind his journey to the signature model, it was so inspiring and so awesome. That's what this video needs to be about. So I hope you guys enjoy these incredible guitar tones, Tyler's incredible playing, and these incredible stories.
It got stolen in 2013 in Spokane Valley, Washington. Out of the back of a van, like an idiot, I left the guitar in the van. It's a good sounding amp.
That sounds great,
It's
right?
a good sounding amp, yeah. So this is 007. This is the first prototype.
Thanks for coming over, man.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Yes.
I've been a fan of your channel for a long time.
Oh, well, thank you. I've been a fan of your music for a long time.
Right on, man. Yeah, these slides are cool, man. They sound good.
Yeah, that's yours.
Yeah, it's a new signature slide I did with the rock slide. So, well, this is yours. This lives in the studio now.
But it's got your name on it.
Yeah, it's got my name on it. But yeah, it's a great little pinky slide. I call it the pinky slide. You can wear it on any finger, but for obvious reasons, it's called the pinky slide.
Thank you for bringing it.
Yeah, man, of course. Thanks for having me over. Yeah, so this is my first pink Stratocaster. I got this one when I was 13 years old.
Okay.
Something like that. I'm horrible with dates.
That's okay.
And time, but I was a young kid. When I moved to Nashville, I brought this guitar. I started my band, The Shakedown, with this guitar. Carried it around the world. Went on tour with Jeff Beck, took this guitar, got to play it on stage with him.
Oh, man.
You know, so it was sort of like my right arm for a long time, and it got stolen in 2013 in Spokane Valley, Washington. Out of the back of a van, like an idiot, I left the guitar in the van, and I woke up to the drummer knocking on the door going, "You idiot, you left the van wide open." And I was like, "No, I didn't." And so we were at this hotel for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and someone had busted into our van, stolen the guitar. They stole all of our guitars. They stole like in-ears. We had a bag of coffee. They stole that.
They stole everything.
We had 12 donuts. They ate 11 of them and left one just as a middle finger to us. You know what I mean? But this is what I was most bummed about, was because this was my favorite guitar, you know, that I'd been carrying through my life.
Yeah.
And for 5.5 years it was missing. And then I get a call from someone saying, "You got to call River City Guitars in Spokane, Washington." They had found my guitar. Someone came into a car dealership, traded this guitar for like $1,000 off on a used car.
No way.
And the guy who owned the car dealership obviously didn't want a pink guitar.
Right.
So he called the guitar shop and said, "What do you think this is worth?" And the guy recognized it as mine and said, "That's Tyler Bryant's guitar. bought it and mailed it back to me.
No
So
way.
this is like, you know, now it's got all this history, and it's just, it shows that there are good people in the world. There are bad people in the world, but there are also good people in the
That's
world.
an
You know,
amazing story.
it was crazy. Like we played with Aerosmith at the New York State Fair, and Steven Tyler had written "Pink, it's like red, but not quite" on the back of the guitar with Sharpie, and they sanded that off, and then we inducted Steve Cropper into the Songwriting Hall of Fame, and I had to sing "Midnight Hour" in front of the guy that wrote it, and I was horrified about forgetting the lyrics, so I wrote the lyrics on top of the guitar.
Like just penciled them in.
I took them with a pen. You can still see like a little bit of it there, but you can see where they took sandpaper and just sanded off all of that.
Wow. Wait, the people that stole it?
Yeah, to try and get, because that, like, if you see
that
a pink,
was a defining characteristic.
if you see a pink guitar that says "Pink is like red but not quite" on the back, it's like, but they, you know, they were obviously pretty bright because they didn't change the plate that has a serial number on it.
So tell me what it was like touring with Jeff Beck, which you said that's your all-time favorite,
Yeah,
right?
he's my favorite guitar player. It was a dream come true. I was in rehearsal with my band, The Shakedown, and I got a phone call from our manager saying, "Hey, do you want to go on the tour with Jeff Beck?" And I just remember, like,
Getting the shakes.
yeah, and just being just overwhelmed with excitement. And she said, "But it's just you, solo acoustic, not the band."
Okay.
So I had to walk back in rehearsal and say, "Guys,
The greatest things happened.
the greatest things happened, and I'm going alone." You know, and you know, when you're in a band, you become brothers with your bandmates. And,
Yeah.
you know, if you're lucky, like I am, and those guys are my best friends, and they were very supportive. And I went and got myself a nice acoustic guitar, went out, and I was so nervous. Like before those shows started, I was physically like ill with nervousness,
I'll bet.
because I was afraid for Jeff Beck to hear me play.
Oh, wow.
You know, I was
Literally
like,
showing your hero.
yeah, I was like, I'm not worthy to be here, you know, and ultimately it ended up being a wonderful experience. Like, I don't know, probably 6-7 shows in, I get the drummer came up to me. His name on that leg, it was Michael Narada Walden, who's a great producer, songwriter in his own right, and he said, "Jeff wants to talk to you in the dressing room." And I thought I was getting kicked off the tour because I was supposed to be playing acoustically, and I had broken a string on my acoustic, so I grabbed my Strat and was like rocking, you know, and I thought I was in trouble. And Jeff said, "Do you want to play the encore with us tomorrow night?" And I was like in my head going, "Be cool, be cool."
Yeah. Don't freak out.
And so I said, "Yeah, that'd be awesome."
Yeah.
And then I walked out to the van I was touring in. I laid down on the floor and I was like, "Yes, yes."
Just losing your mind.
You know, but then it started setting in that he didn't say what song we were gonna do. And Jeff Beck songs are not easy. So I was all night long listening to everything, trying to figure out how I could weasel my way in. And then he's like, "Yeah, we'll just do Higher by Sly and the Family Stone," which is easy, and it was great. He became a good friend and a great mentor of sorts. I would send him songs I was working on, and he was always really encouraging. But you know, above all, he was just, I mean, he was really a great person. You know,
That's awesome, man. How many shows did you do with him?
oh man, tons. Probably I don't know exactly. Probably 50 or 60 shows. Yeah,
A lot.
a lot of shows.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But I'll put links to Tyler's signature model down below, and maybe you'll be able to find one somewhere. And I'll put links to this amp down below as well. Those links go to Sweetwater, and Sweetwater is sponsoring this video. So go check out his guitar and this amp over on Sweetwater. And also, anytime you need anything, you can jump on any one of my videos, click on any one of the links, and buy anything you need. And it really supports this channel a lot, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it.
guitar that was that Fender helped me get this when I was just very young, and when this was stolen, I was like, what do I do? We were out on tour with Rival Sons at the time, and we had a show coming up in Chicago, and I was going, I don't have a decent Strat to play at the show, and on that tour, actually, I borrowed some guitars from some friends, and then we went through Dallas, and it was my birthday, and my parents pulled out a guitar case. I'll show you.
Yeah.
They pulled out a guitar case with this guitar, and it was a lot prettier than this when I got it. It had all the paint on it, most of it at least. Had a white pickguard, a single coil, and it was my new guitar. It was basically just became my #1 guitar, and this has become my main guitar. If I had to choose like a desert island guitar, I would take this one.
Yeah.
Because this, both of my parents my whole life worked 2 jobs.
Yeah.
And I know it took a lot of sacrifice for them to get this for me in a difficult time.
Totally.
And they borrowed a little bit of money from this guy named Bobby in Dallas, who is a big supporter of me. And so when I put this gold pickguard on there, which there's a funny story behind this as well. When I put this on there, I realized that my dad had taken a soldering iron and soldered his name, my mom's name, my sister's name, and Bobby's initials, because those were the people that got me this guitar essentially. Yeah, and the story on the pickguard is we were touring with a band who had a drum tech that was engraving this stuff like beautifully, and he made this pickguard for Graham, the other guitarist in our band.
Oh, wow.
And Graham left it in our band van, and I was cleaning it out one day and found this pickguard, and I just thought, well, I'll put it on my guitar. So I took it home, put it on my guitar, and thanks, Graham.
That's awesome.
It's now part of the thing.
So this became #1.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you can see, like, this is not, from the custom I know they do that with guitars, but
yeah,
this is from, wearing ridiculous rock and roll clothes and storing termites in the case, and but yeah.
Is this the guitar that the signature model is based
Yeah, the
on?
signature model is based off this. This is Pinky 2. The last one I showed you is Pinky 1. Our old guitar tech Logan put these on there just because when you have a bunch of pink guitars on a dark stage, it's sometimes hard to identify which one is which.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a 1960s custom shop Stratocaster, and it originally had a single coil down here. Tim Shaw, who's a legendary pickup maker, put this Shawbucker in there because we were at. This would have been 2016 when I added the humbucker.
Okay.
I tried to do the single coil that sounded like a humbucker, and I just couldn't find one that was right for me.
Yeah.
And my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, she got one of those Fender Elite Strats, and it had a Shawbucker in it. And I was like, whatever's in this guitar, I just resonated with it. And so I called Fender. I said, what's in that? And they said, Tim Shaw made it. And so then next thing you know, I'm on the phone with Tim Shaw. He's like, bring the guitar down. So he routed out the pickguard, put this in for me. My wife put this on there. She carved that on there. So that's cool to see. Whenever we did the signature model, I was like, that's not going on those. That's just for me.
What was the process? So you sent this to Fender?
I didn't send it to them. They asked me to send them the guitar. So this has been a conversation that I've been having with Fender for a very long time about doing a signature model.
Got it, okay.
And over the years, like doing shakedown shows, I've collected hundreds of pictures of kids that have guitars that look just like this, that were inspired by, and kids would bring their pink Strats to the shows, and I would always pull this out and be like, you play mine, I'll play, and
That's awesome.
It's cool to see so many of them come up. And we did a Fender event at Third Man Records, and I was showing the top guys over at Fender, look at all these pink Strats, check these out. And I think they got it and said, let's do one. And so we did a limited edition custom shop model of it, and they asked me to mail this, and I said, "There's no way that I'm not coming." Like, so I was like, "I'll mail it, but I'm mailing me too," you know. And so I went to the custom shop and took this guitar, and they took all the measurements. They took thousands of pictures probably, and you know, they measured everything. They took the pick guard off. They took the pickups out. They measured everything to a T. You know, even to like, there's a long screw in this, like even that.
That's amazing.
You know, and so we ended up with this. Let me show you. This is pretty cool. This is the approved prototype.
So this is prototype number 1.
This is prototype number 2. Prototype number 1 was so very close.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was like most of the stuff on that didn't pass on prototype number 1 was cosmetic.
Got it.
But this is prototype number 2. It's serial number 009, because it's now even more confusing. We have Pinky 2. we have 3 Pinky 2s in the touring guitar vault. So now we just have to put little serial number identifiers. But
That's awesome.
I requested that they leave most of the paint on the guitar, so it would look like mine did when I got it.
Yep. Let people wear it out for
I think
themselves.
people need to tell their own stories with it, you know. This was the first prototype. This is serial number 007, which is the most bad to the bone serial number for a guitar. And if you notice, it's got the clay dots.
Yep.
The white dots is what I wanted. And then up here, it's the kind of clay, you know, a little bit more overspray. So I wanted to be a little bit more white so you could see them on dark stages.
Got it.
And then in the 60s, there were a couple of different C-shaped necks. And this is a little bit of a wider neck. Like, I think it's a 1/16 of an inch bigger, which is, you would think wouldn't be a big deal, but whenever, I'm just so used to that guitar because I've played it for so long that when I grabbed this, I was like, something's different.
Got it.
And so as soon as I told them, they were like, "Oh, hold on," and they sent me the second one, and it was right.
That's amazing.
Also, I just wanted the hardware to be, you know, like they do the aging where they can kind of rust the hardware, but sometimes that can mess with the functionality a little bit of the screws. So I was like, well, if you age it, let's put brand new screws in there, so it's not like gunked up or any of that. But yeah, it was the pickups and everything was dead on from the get-go. I plugged it in and compared it to the original and recorded tests and was sending it to my friends going, "Can you tell? Can you tell?"
So,
you know?
So there was only 2 versions of this. You didn't go back and forth a bunch of times.
No. I'm not as meticulous as some guys are. Like, the neck has to be right, the pickups have to be right. And I know that, like, all of the electronics, everything is identical, you know? I'm not going to be there, like, weighing slabs of wood going, "Oh, you go," you know? Like, throw some distortion on it and play it, dude. You know?
So when did you do the AC/DC?
That started in, that was a Rocker Bust tour in 2016.
Okay.
And so we were on tour with Billy Gibbons, who I also met via Jeff because I got to tour with then Jeff Beck and ZZ Top.
Okay.
And talk about a cool hang when you would get Jeff Beck and Billy Gibbons together. I would just be sitting there listening.
Yeah, soaking it all in.
But yeah, we were on tour. Billy Gibbons released an album called Perfectamundo, which was like a Cuban-inspired record, and we were out playing acoustic, opening for him, and I got a call from our ex-booking agent, this guy John Huey, who didn't even book us anymore.
Wow.
But it just goes to show like the importance of maintaining relationships,
not burning bridges
in the music industry.
Yeah.
So at this point, we had moved to United Talent Agency, and John Huey still worked at CAA, and I was sitting in the back of a van rolling to some city to play some show, and I get a phone call that says, "Hey, I know I'm not your agent. Can I try to get you the AC/DC tour?" And I said, "Yeah." And he called back later that day and said, "I got you a 3-show audition."
Wow.
And so I was like, "Well, what?"
So does that mean you open 3 shows?
We
to
opened
see if
3
you can get the
shows,
tour?
and if Angus likes us, then we get the American leg of the tour. It was what we were told.
Yeah.
And so we did the first show, which was in Tacoma. It was at the Tacoma Dome, Tacoma, Washington. And the second show was in Vegas. And the third show was in Denver. And I remember I asked my girlfriend, now wife, at the time to fly out. Because after that third show, it was really stressful because I was going, if Angus Young doesn't like us enough to go on tour, then what do we do?
Yeah.
Like that would be. I was prepared to be devastated.
Yeah.
And so I just said, come out and see us play in an arena and see AC/DC, and we'll have a big party as if it's the last rock show we're ever gonna do. Because if Angus thinks that we shouldn't play rock and roll, then we probably shouldn't play rock and roll.
Oh man.
I'm not really, but
no, I feel you though.
But I was thinking like, in how am I gonna handle this?
Yeah.
And after the third show, we didn't hear anything. Imagine this. The insecurity.
So you didn't hear a no, you just heard nothing.
We heard nothing, so we drove to the next show. We showed up and they let us play. And so then we showed up at the next show and there was a drum riser. And so we're like, should we just keep coming? And they said, "Oh yeah, Angus made up his mind after the first show. Did no one tell you?" Can you believe that? So I was like, waking up in a cold sweat.
What did you feel in that moment? Were you like relieved, pissed, both?
Yeah, no, I was not pissed.
Well, for sure. Yeah.
I was just thrilled. It was like, let's do this, let's go. Because at this point,
can you imagine living on edge for however many shows, not knowing if you're going to get cut or not?
Yeah, and I mean, and then just having to wrestle with the idea of, are we good enough? Are we good enough? I mean, and I wrestled with that the whole tour, and honestly wrestle with that at every show. That's part of, really caring about something. I get really nervous and I question, are we being honest? Are we giving it everything? All that stuff. Yeah. And that just amplified all of those feelings, But it was, and then when they told us that we were on the rest of the American tour, they also offered us the rest of the world tour. So we got to go to Europe with them, and it was like, it was incredible, you know? But the second American leg of shows, I think it was the second leg. Like I said, I'm horrible with dates. Brian Johnson, we were about to leave for a run with AC/DC, and we got a call that the shows were off because Brian Johnson was having hearing issues.
So you were on the tour when that happened?
I was on the tour when that happened. So we got a call. We had, and mind you, we had pulled out of all of our festival engagements.
Right.
We'd canceled everything, and I was like, I hope we're not burning bridges with promoters, but we're also
touring with AC/DC.
We're not saying no to AC/DC.
Right.
And so we had canceled everything, and then all of a sudden, the thing that we had canceled for was canceled. So I remember I was at a little tire shop on Nolensville Pike in Nashville, putting new tires on our van. And was just like, okay, this is a huge blow. And Axl Rose stepped in, and shows were back on. The first show with Axl was in Lisbon, Portugal.
Wow.
And it was unbelievable. And there was such an uncertainty
Sure.
of how that was going to go.
Yeah.
Because AC/DC fans are rabid.
Yep.
And it was just, no one really knew what was going to happen. And there was like an angst with the audience.
Yeah.
So doors opened at 3 p.m.
Because they obviously bought all their tickets.
Yeah.
Axl was not
Yeah.
confirmed for that yet.
Yeah, so the doors open at 3 p.m. It's pouring rain. Like, I would say probably 30,000, 40,000 people there early, standing in the rain. We didn't start till 7. So these people are just standing in their muddy boots. And they started chanting, effing play. And we're back there like, these folks are like, they want AC/DC.
Yeah.
And we got to go play we had an hour set.
So they were chanting that before you guys even played.
Yeah, and so then we have to go out and
turn the crowd.
And right before we went on, it was like the sky parted, the sun came through, and we had the most amazing show.
Wow.
And it was also our first time ever playing for a crowd that large. So it was like, I didn't know if we were going to sink or swim, but we had to figure something out quick, and it worked great. And then when Axl came out, after the first song, the crowd started chanting, "Axl, Axl," and he said, "No, you got it wrong. It's Angus, Angus." And it's at that moment everyone realized that he was going to handle the tour with the utmost respect.
Yeah.
That he was grateful, and it was smooth sailing, man.
Wow.
But then we went and did 29 shows with Guns on their Not in This Lifetime tour because of meeting Axl on that. And, you know, like when people ask us how we got all these cool opportunities, it's like we showed up on time, we tried to fly comfortably under the radar, we said thank you, and we got out of the way.
Performed the best that you could.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. That's a important lesson, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, try your very best not to burn bridges.
Yeah.
Always be respectful.
Yeah.
If you're on time, you're late.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff.
But yeah, it's a fantastic sounding instrument, and yeah, they put these cool little neck plates on there that have my name. I wanted to put my name down here, just in case someone wanted the guitar but didn't want my signature up here. That way they could put a different plate on or something. Because it's a great guitar regardless of me, you know?
Totally.
Like, and I wanted that to be an option for people. The pickguards are not made by a machine. These are all hand engraved by the same guy that made mine. And I've been pretty tight-lipped about who did it, just because I always wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
And everyone takes hours and hours and hours of time because he's just sitting there with a tool removing material, you know?
That's unreal.
So each one is slightly different, and there's this extra screw hole here because the pickguard was made, you know, originally when he made the pickguard for my original, there was a extra hole because the 60s Strats didn't have a screw right there, and this is a modern pickguard.
How many of these are you doing?
So we did 60 of them,
Okay.
and you know, these are a limited edition guitars, so they're pricey, and they sold out to dealers really fast. So I'm very pleased with it, and I think the folks at Fender are happy, and I'm just excited to see some folks start playing them out in the world. You know, but when I got the first prototype, we were on our way to France to play this big festival called Hellfest. You know, like 80,000 people in front of a stage. It's crazy.
Right.
And I didn't even take my original one. I took only the first prototype.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to walk out on stage, and I didn't even think about it. It felt the same, it sounded the same, and it was like, cool, off to the races. You know, at that point, it was just like picking the case and the strap that comes with it and that sort of thing.
If you find the right dealer that hasn't sold it off the showroom floor yet,
Yeah.
there's a chance.
Yep. I know Sweetwater got one or two. I don't know if they've sold theirs yet, or it's such an honor to have this happen. You know, so many of my heroes played Stratocasters, and I'm from Texas, so like Texas blues and Stratocasters goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And you know, although I don't consider myself to be a blues man by a long stretch, I have great respect for that music and that style of playing, and the history and the tradition. And you know, Jeff Beck is my favorite guitar player.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time on the road with him, and I got one of his signature Strats and played the damn it out of it. You know what I mean? And so it's like to kind of like be able to follow in that tradition in my own small way is a huge honor to me.
Cool, man.
And it's proof, dude. It's proof that like some kid who's playing in his bedroom can make that happen, you know? Like I still wake up every day like wanting to put on my favorite records and work on music and play a guitar and have fun, and like this is all just a product of that. Like, immerse yourself in the thing, and if you have an idea, follow it. To the single coil. Down on the bridge, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love that, to be able to go from that big round sound just down to this, which is like, it cuts and is aggressive.
Yep.
That's how I would describe that. It's aggressive, you know, even when you're playing clean. So
It's got some spank to it.
I think that's really good. Yeah, it's pretty money.
Dude.
Thank you, man. Been great to hang with you.
Yes, thank you for coming over. Thank you for showing me what that amp is supposed to sound like.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
That was amazing. Your guitar.
That amp sounds great.
Yeah, it does. Your guitar plays and looks amazing, and it obviously sounded awesome.
Thanks, dude.
Congrats on it.
Man, all the best to you with your mixing and your channel. I get a kick out of your videos.
Thank you, man.
So
I appreciate that.
Cheers, man.
I'll put links down below to all Tyler's socials and some of his music. Don't forget to go check him out. I cannot say enough good things about 1, his music, 2, his playing, and 3, him as a person. And I really appreciate him coming to take the time to sit down with me and hang out for an afternoon. Thank you, Tyler, for being a part of this. I really, really appreciate it. That's been it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun for me, and I hope it was a lot of fun for you to watch. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.